This is something that has been so insightful to look at people I know, but also famous people. And I can guess what pinnacle they're in because it's so obvious, especially when someone's transitioned to another pinnacle because the energy, everything's changed. They're in a different part of their life now. And so I want to teach you guys these pinnacles if you don't know them already. This is another game changer. I say a lot of these things are game changers, but they are. They really, really are. Knowing what pinnacle you're in, this will change the game. This will seriously change the game. Sometimes people are going through difficult things and they're just in a pinnacle which is kind of difficult, or it's a very deep pinnacle. And these times that are difficult, they make you you. Like some of the most inspiring people in life have had such low lows and they needed that to become who they are. So we have four pinnacles in our life. The first one, obviously, from 0 to roughly, it depends on your life path, but it's roughly around 30 years old. You go into your second one for 9 years, then you go through your third one for 9 years, and then you finish on whatever final number you've got. Okay, so first of all, you'd need to know the numbers 1 to 9 and understand each energy and what they hold. The more you get to know these numbers, just the same way with astrology signs, there's always more to unpack. It always just gets deeper and deeper, and you can correlate it to many different things. So, to find out what pinnacle you're in, you add your day of birth plus your month of birth, and that will add up to a number. If it's not a single number, then you keep adding those numbers together until you get a single number. So, if it is 27th of December, so you've got two, so the 27, 2 plus 7, so obviously that's 9. And then the month is, what did I say, December. So 1 plus 2 is 3. That will then equate to 12. So then we add the 1 plus the 2, that's the 3. So that first person's pinnacle is a 3 pinnacle. And then to get to the second pinnacle, we add the day and the year. So there, that was 27. So 2 plus 7 is 9. Plus, if they're born in 2001, then that's 2 plus 1, which is 3. And then what have we got? 9 plus 3. Oh, it's the same again, I think. Yeah, same again. So 12, which is 3, right? So they'd have the first pinnacles of 3, the second pinnacles of 3, and then you add the first pinnacle and the second pinnacle. So that would be a 6. And then you add the month and the year. I'm just thinking because I don't know how it is for Americans. I suppose you guys would say it might be the day for you guys. Whatever it is, it's that middle number. So that would be December. So 3 plus 3, 6. So it's literally 3, 3, 6, 6. Those are the pinnacles for that person. That's the 27th of December 2001. Now, in terms of when they change, this will depend on your life path. How to work out a life path is you add all the numbers in their date of birth up together until you get a single digit. There are 11, 22, and 33 included, but that's a story for another time. But other than that, you go down to a single number. So we've got 27, 9, December, 3, and 2001, 3. You start from 36, which is the highest age you can change pinnacle. So that would be somebody that was a 1 pinnacle. Sorry, a 1 life path. Bloody hell. I'm going to get there at some point. But 36, take 6 because the person's a life path 6. And that means they'd change pinnacle at 30. So if you're a life path 5, 36 take 5. If you're 9, 36 take 9. There's probably a much better way of working it out. But that's how I tend to just know when they change pinnacle. So your first pinnacle, that person would be the first pinnacle. They're in a 3 until the age of 30. But either way, they carry on for another 9 years till they're 39, still in a 3 because the second one's a 3. But it's a different place they're in. So when you look at a first pinnacle, it's a little bit different energy to the second pinnacle, even if it's the same number. But still, same energy. And then the third pinnacle, when they're 39 to 48, they would be in a six, and then 48, 49 onwards, they're also in a six again. But obviously, for a lot of people, that's four different numbers they're in, which is completely different vibes. Three and six already a very different vibe. So things really switch up in people's lives. I want to use some examples. A great one is Jennifer Aniston. So her birthday is the 11th of February 1969. She's life path 4. So when she is 32 is when she changes into her second pinnacle. So her first pinnacle, would you believe, is a 4. Around this time period, she would have gotten Friends, one of the biggest sitcoms as we've ever known it. I would say she was probably the main one that did well after Friends. I mean, they all did well, but I don't know the stats on this, but I think she probably did the best initially, in terms of future successes. Sorry, future opportunities. So she was in a 4 pinnacle. When you're in a 4 pinnacle, 4 is the structure, um, routines, consistency number. So Rihanna, I think, was in her first pinnacle was a 4. Beyonce was the first for a 4. There's quite a few 4s that start out, and it just means the energy is creating a place for you to get on job in terms of 3D material. That's what the energy is holding for you. So two people could want to be, start their own business. Someone that's in a pinnacle 4, they're going to have the energy serving them. Someone that's in a pinnacle 9, well, that energy, it's not to say you can't do it, absolutely not, but the energy is more about the self, like looking in. um it's the final sign, it's a spirit, sorry, sign. Relating it to Pisces. It's the final number. It relates to endings and empathy, and it's humanitarian. If you were to create a business that was for the people, then maybe, but energy wise, it's not really serving in that way. Like I say, it doesn't mean you can't do something, but it would have to be for that purpose that a 9 brings. Whereas a 4 is, let's get the job done, let's build and build and build. It's the building blocks. It's a worker. That's a 4. So somebody, if in their first pinnacle, they'd experience that in some way at the beginning of their lives. For Jennifer Aniston, until she gets to the age of 32. Then at 32, she goes into a 9. Now, this is a much different energy, like I was saying. 9 is the final number, meaning it's the ending, it's the wise one, it's the one that's got a lot of introspection, a lot of empathy. There's a lot of time for people in 9 pinnacles to ponder life, to look at deeper messages in things. And that's the energy that it's serving. um and it's a very, very deep time. So to go from the 4, which is a very external number, to then a 9, which is a very internal number, it's a bit of a shock. And sometimes things can happen that make you go into that. So interestingly enough, for us onlookers, so then at 34, she ends up being a part of a really emotional time where that affair happened, where her husband, Brad Pitt, has an affair with Angelina Jolie. I mean, an affair in itself is very, very difficult to go through, but especially with Angelina Jolie and publicly, that has got to be, I can't even imagine. And then you having to keep up the act of everything's fine, like it's not too bad. Everybody's asking her how she is. I can only imagine how that was for her. That was in her 2 year as well, I think. Um, so she had that until she turned, I think, 43. She goes back into a 4. And I haven't looked up massively on Jennifer Aniston's life. These are just the general things that I know. I probably should have looked into it a little bit more. But it was just too perfect. I was like, wow, of course. So then in her 4, when she's around 43, I'm sure she was doing a lot of work. I mean, maybe she was doing a lot of work throughout. Um, but I think internally she would have kind of been focused on probably just personal growth and internal things that she would have had to battle. As as we all are, but that probably would have been the main focus in her life if we were to ask her. And then when she turns 43, it's back on the career front again. It's back on the building blocks. But she still carries everything she's learned throughout her life, of course. And then when she's 52, she goes back into the nine. So I don't know what's up with her in terms of pop culture at the moment, but maybe it's another kind of deep introspective time. But again, this is now in the fourth pinnacle. Now I haven't got there yet, so I can't really speak on it, but I'd imagine you're coming from much more of a wise place and a much more different place than when she was 32, when she first entered that nine. So yeah, great example. But you can take anybody. I'll go through these. I'll do a series on these if people are interested on celebrities and things like that, because you might think, oh, it's easy for them, or they had a hand in, maybe they're a nepo baby or whatever. um Even the Kardashians are a good one. I love using the Kardashians because they're so public, especially Kim is very public. So we can get a bit of insight, so looking at their signs, their charts, their numerology charts. But it's like what I say with all the numerology insights is, you want to flow with it, you want to work with this energy. There are pros and cons to everything. um but you can achieve whatever you want to achieve. But when you work with the numbers, your pinnacles, your personal year numbers, your monthly numbers, you will excel in life because you're flowing with it, you're working with it, it's on your side. So these pinnacles are a long time, but again, you can achieve whatever you want to achieve, but know how it could work for you. For example, when I said the nine pinnacle, doesn't mean that you couldn't start a business. But if it was to do with helping people, if it was for a humanitarian cause, then that would absolutely work better for you than to just make money. And you will naturally be drawn to these numbers, like the energy of these numbers. Just to give a quick overview, the one in terms of a pinnacle, it's very much the lone wolf, but not in a depressing way, in a kind of like, well, I'm going to get this done. It's the initiator. It's the, you have to do it yourself because you haven't got anybody else to do it for you. So, especially if you've had that in your first pinnacle, then that would be quite obvious as a child. But that's the energy of the one. It's about the self, it's about being seen. It can be quite a selfish time, but I don't mean that in a bad way. But that's the one. The two, that two pinnacle is about relationships, it's about emotions, it's about feelings. When I say relationships, not necessarily harmonious, but deep nonetheless. Something that just really gets you emotional, um, pretty much throughout that period of your life. Um, so it can be quite tricky, but it can also be so fruitful. The three is a very creative time, a very spontaneous time. It can be quite scatty if you're kind of prone to addiction. That can be a lot to have a three or a five pinnacle. It can be very fun. Lots of things can happen, but there isn't a lot of structure there. The four, a very structured time, as I was speaking about with Jennifer Aniston. Um, Very hardworking and on it. I would love a four pinnacle. I don't have that four pinnacle in this lifetime, but I am a life path four, so maybe I would say that. But I really like the idea of just being in that zone to just keep working and working and working. These people must be so exhausted. I can only imagine. And then a five pinnacle, again similar to the three, but a little bit different. I will go into these in more in depth on other videos, but again, spontaneous, freeing, great for travel, great for exploring, very expansive. But again, if you're kind of prone to addiction, or not, you don't have a lot of structure, that can be a bit tricky. um but I'm sure very, very, very fun. Six, to do with the home, to do with service. Responsibility doesn't have to be good or bad, it's however your relationship is with that. A seven, very introspective, again similar to the lone wolf, but not in the same way a one is. It's a lot more like, you probably feel quite lonely, but you go into the dark, those shadow times, but a very philosophical, wise time. And that will make you somebody like that as well. Um, or not necessarily somebody like that, but yeah, someone introspective at that time period that would then carry on in your life. 8, it's about money, it's about ego, it's about status. So you have to learn the lessons through that. So that can be great and also be challenging. Again, a lot of energy, a lot of external energy going on. In the 9, a lot more internal energy. So on the outside, it may not look like you've done loads. You may have because of other numbers, but you may not have, but you've done so much internally. So that's how they can play out. But I will do more videos on that. So stay tuned. Thank you again for watching. And if you liked it, please do like. If you want to subscribe, then do. I've got so much more coming up. So yeah, it's just not about resisting, it's about flowing. See you soon.